Hello?
Hello.
There he is. How are you doing?
Hey, what's up?
So, I just got my 4 hours of training in, so
I just finished my totem too.
nice.
Trying to get to 240.
Okay, so you're close to 240 now?
Uh, 237, 50%.
Okay.
I'm on my way.
That's that's very close to some people, very far away to others.
Right,
Depends on
right.
how fast you go there. Cool. So you're HoYoung,
hmm
closing in on 240, and it's just mainly you have already come quite some way, I see, with your equips.
Yeah, it's
And
just I don't really know like what flames are good to keep and what flames are like I should be keep rolling.
so like
I just
Star Force
uh-huh.
and then potential wise, you kind of know where the limits are and how you want to go forward on that, or is that also still
Um
like once you get to
So
17?
the thing about HoYoung, I don't know what stats count into ignore defense, and I'm not sure if my ignore defense is a bit too high right now. And maybe I should look for some boss lines, but yeah.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
But besides that, yeah, I think stat wise, like except ignore defense, I think I know what to go for.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know like my some of my fort job skills that count into the fort job matrix
Yeah.
have the 20% ignore defense, and I also got one of the skills that like reduce 20% defense. So
Oh,
I don't know
true.
if
Yeah, yeah.
my yeah,
It's
so
like
I don't know if my ignore defense is a bit too high. It's at 94 now.
it's like the what's it called, like destruction or decay or something,
Yeah, yeah.
something like that, right? Yeah. And you can have that at 100% uptime when you're bossing, right?
If I want to, yeah, but I know some Hoyoung players like to keep the spinning thing, the vortex thing
Sure. Yeah.
constantly, but I honestly use all of the skills as much as
I
possible.
guess it'll depend. If it's a stationary boss, you want to maybe prefer the vortex, and if it's a moving boss, you want the other one.
Right.
Because the other one will just float out of the vortex, and then you're just kind of fucked. The vortex is just there,
Yeah,
just twirling in the corner of the map, not really getting much done.
yeah, especially in like Lucid and
Yeah,
stuff like
yeah,
that.
exactly. That's the prime example. Like phase one, you might want to twirl it because it also instantly hits the golems, so you can help kill the golems near Lucid.
Right.
That makes sense. Yeah. Okay. Sure. And is there like a general goal you have in mind for this character, like a part where you want to stop, or is it just like sky's the limit and just progress?
Um, well, I want to get to at least like maybe solo normal Lucid and like hard party Lucid
Okay.
around there, or hard will party.
Yeah. So definitely like aiming for at least level 250 and being able to do all the content at that level.
Yeah, I was wondering if do I need the arcane weapons for me to do that, or
No, you
because I
can.
got
No, for sure.
uh-huh.
Not
Because I
necessary.
got really lucky with my weapon and I got it to 21 star. So I
Oh, that's
was
probably
wondering if
more. Yeah.
Absol 20 stars are fine for hard lucid.
Oh yeah.
Well,
Yeah, for sure. Because they nerfed the HP on Lucid quite a lot in a not too long ago. Like they
okay.
nerfed her HP by 24%, which was a huge nerf. And with the reassigning, like there's a big skill change coming, right? Where a lot of the lines of skills are going to be increased, so that people who are capping on damage will just be able to. And if you're in domain and you have all of your bursts going and everyone is buffing each other, and if you get to like 21 star Abzo, then you can start capping on some stuff. Like my arc has 21 star Abzo. I do have the arcane weapon, but it's a 17 star, so that's probably by itself. It's probably weaker than Abzo if I had a 21 star Abzo. But the reason I went for it is because Arc has two skills that scale off of weapon base attack, and that
Uh
help
huh.
you. And because the base attack is higher, that helps you a little bit more than going for straight up Abzo. But not that
Okay.
much. It's basically more future proofing in case I got drops, which I didn't. So, in my in my scenario, I would have already I've gotten like 3 drops or something at this point, and then almost be full set, and then maybe Star Force summon and switched over from Abzo at this point. But turns out that in reality it went a little bit differently.
Yeah, because like I did my Maple study, like I would say like Maple research, like research on like how to spec up on Maple based on like KMS instead of what people in GMS say. So
I see.
Because like Korean people like farm with like Shadower and Buccaneer and stuff like that, and I never realized Kana was like essential in GMS.
Yeah, it changes the whole ball game.
I don't know if I like want to bother making another like 240 like Arcana basically.
Yeah, I guess it'll depend on how much you're playing. If you feel like you run out of all of your totems by like the second week of the month, and you don't really, and then for the rest of the month you're kind of just like sitting and doing some suboptimal stuff, then it might be worth investing in Akana. But if you find that you pretty much play about as much as the totems are, and then you have enough space in the rest of your day to work on Legion and that kind of stuff, then I don't think it's necessary.
Okay.
Yeah, more like depending on how much you play, I would say. Yeah. Okay, so we can go into ID. We can go into Flames. Anything else specifically?
How important is the restraint rings, like the Tarvas stuff?
Yeah, once you get, once your progression kind of gets stuck waiting on events to to make your money worth it. Doing Oz in the meantime, if you get a big ring, specifically for characters who are high on burst, getting an ROR 3 or 4 is huge, and HoYoung is probably among the biggest bursters in the game.
Yeah.
If not the biggest, like maybe right after Night Lord or something. So an RR for you specifically would be huge. It would definitely help you carry your weight on like a phase 3 Hard Lucid, for example.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Because I haven't done any of the Tarvas.
No, I have barely done any on my arc as well. But if I wanted to upgrade something on my arc right now, like the best thing I could spend time on would be, even better than going for arcane gear and stuff like that, would just be doing Tower of Oz a lot and getting a good ring. Yeah, specifically if you're burst oriented and you get a big ROR, that's huge.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, so something to maybe think about on the side. So in general, so do you want to talk about Flames first?
Yeah.
So Flames in general, your HoYoung, so main stat, luck, and then all stat and attack is basically what gives you all your damage, and then Dex gives a little bit, right? So the scaling for Dex tends to go down because you get less all stat in your equips, but you get more flat main luck, right? Eventually you're going to go for all luck lines and no percentage all stat lines. So your secondary stat scales down. Your main stat is like the basis of your scaling, so that stays the same, and then your all stat will scale up because later on in the game, once you have everything figured out, you'll just end up with more luck. So the scaling for percentage goes up. So and the scaling for strength, for attack goes down because you get, the higher you go in Star Force, the more attack you get from all of your stars, right? So the total pool of attack goes up, so the individual value of a single attack goes down a little bit comparatively to everything else. So yeah, if you have something like your Shoe Flame, for example, where you have so that one is relying very heavily on the 6 attack for the value there. Yeah, that's going to scale a bit down, and compared to the others, we can get into like the calculation of the numbers in a second. But you'll see that when you put your cape next to your shoe, for example, you'll see a huge difference, which just basically means that your shoe has a huge potential to grow still. Whereas your cape is already pretty far in. But we'll get to the numbers in a second. So, to get into the numbers, so we have I've got a flame guide, and based on my flame guide, someone from the community, Sethy Boy, made a calculator. So in the beginning, if you're still kind of struggling with the numbers and what to go for on everything, you can use this calculator to start with.
Nice.
So you can say if you're going for late game or end game. So if you're aiming for hard lucid, hard will, and like 250, everything around there, I would say use the late game one. If you're aiming for anything beyond that, then use the end game part. And the difference there is going to be like the scaling that I just talked about, basically. So for late game, you're a main luck user, nothing special. So if any item you want to know, you could just dump it in. So the weapon is separate because the weapon attack is huge, right? And you can also get things like percentage damage and percentage boss damage, which are very difficult to value because that's very class specific on how much percentage damage you already have. So that one is a little bit on its own. That one is separate, so that's why the weapon flame tier calculator is also here. So basically any weapon, we could take an example, right? For example, we could take your top. It's like 20 dex, 24 int, what was it, 44 luck, and 5% all stat, 5, and then you could do calculate. So this one's 89, so I can do CRA top and save it, and then I can clear this one. That's from from yesterday. So that one's at 89, and then if you want to know if the 89 is good or bad, then you can check in the progression tab, where it basically keeps track of like what numbers do you want to be at, and this is also what we're going to look at for your IED later, to see where you want to be at. So your equip is, the equip that we checked is a flame advantage item. You know the difference, flame advantage or no flame advantage?
Sorry, I don't think I know.
Okay. So you probably notice that when you're flaming some equips, the outcomes are generally just horrible. Sometimes
for like Gollux items?
Yeah, you see barely any lines, and the lines that you do see, the numbers are low as fuck.
Right.
Yeah, so those items don't have flame advantage, and that's not something that just randomly gets assigned to an item, but just certain equips, whatever their name is, like for example, the superior engraved Gollux belt does not have flame advantage. So the average flame on there is just going to be worse. So not only is it going to be less amounts of stats that you're going to get, but the stats that you're going to get are also in a lower tier. So the values that you're aiming for and the flame score that we're talking about that you're going to aim for in those items is much lower, because otherwise it would just be a huge waste of your money. Because the potential outcome is just way lower. So the average value per flame isn't there. So yeah, if you want to get your bang for your buck, you get all your other shit in order first, and then you can min-max on those items, because, you know, eventually you're going to be wearing like at least 6 of those items, right? And if you can get like 30 or 40 stat on all 6, that's still 180 to 240 luck that you can get. But before that, there's way more value in flaming the other stuff first. So that's where we're also focused on for now. So the general focus for flaming is first your weapon, then your high-level equips that have flame advantage. So in your case, and in most people's cases, that's Absolab, right? That's why the shoe jumped out to me. Like, that's one of the ones where you can have really good potential. If your weapon didn't have the 77 attack on it, then the weapon would have been the things that I jumped on first, because of the value.
Weapon's flame is fine for now.
Well, so we can what you can do with every item is put the flame score that you have in the calculator, check the number, and then look at the progression. And then so if you don't know yet what item is flame advantage and which one isn't, the easiest way to find out is when you check the flame guide. There's also a link here, and also through the flame score there's also a link here to the flame guide, where it also links to a thread that has all of the items with flame advantage in it. So if you just Control F, whatever, it's like, oh, superior. Oh, you see, there are some superior items. Okay, so engraved. Oh, Gollux. If you look up anything Gollux, nothing here, right? It's all not here. Right. Sweet water. It's all not here. All doesn't have flame advantage. So that means that you can look at a different at the different column. So here you see the flame score that you're aiming for. So you're going to be aiming for the numbers here at the upper end of late game. So that means for non-flame advantage items, like around low 40s, and then for items with flame advantage, around 100. So the slightly lower level items a little bit below. So let's say for CRA and stuff, you'll be aiming for like around 95 to 100, and for like your pink holy cup around 95, and then for the Absolab stuff slightly over 100. is like is a good thing to aim for.
Okay.
To 105. So in the beginning, yeah.
Okay.
So one of the easiest ways, if you use the calculator, you can see the numbers yourself. But basically, like, so if you're a strength user, if you're a luck user, sorry, so one luck is just one score, and then one all stat is 8.5, and then one attack is still 4. So that'll go down into 3, and then all stat goes up to 9 once you get into the end game. So if you want to err on the side of caution, focus more on percentage all stat and just main luck. If you get some attack, that'll help you like make up for a flame that's maybe slightly lower than you want, but that can give you like a little bit of an extra boost. But let's say that you get like that you're aiming for 105 on your Abso, for example, and you get 7. Let's say you get 70 stat and like 6 attack, for example. Then it's like, then right now it's at 94, so it's like really close. But then that'll, you know, the scaling of the attack will get lost, and then it'll go down to like 88. Whereas in the end game, you're aiming for closer to something like 110, 115, maybe even 120. So then it's definitely going to have to get reflamed again. But it's just a matter of once you have all the flame scores of all your items kind of in your brain, or even in here, you know, you can just save them and have them compared to each other. Then you can very clearly see like this one needs the most work. This one has the biggest gap between the, you know, the 105 or the 95 that I'm aiming for, or the 42. But focus on these two first, right? All the items with flame advantage. Yeah, so that'll be mainly your Absolab stuff. So if you look at the scores roughly, you know, like 8.5, so that's like 42 and 45, so that's about 87, 88-ish. This one, 36, 4, 24, so that's like 54, right? So that's a big difference already. That's already like 30 stat. If you get them at the same level, then there's like 30 stat to gain on the shoe. So like 60 and 6 would be roughly the same as what this guy has. But remember, this scales better than the attack scales. So that's also more powerful. The gloves are 55 and 4, so that also has some room for growth. But so for now, if you look at these 3 items, which after your weapon, right, are the main things that you look at, the cape definitely doesn't need any work for now until the shoe and the glove get a lot better.
Okay, so aim for the main stat primarily.
Yeah, just throw in the like. Let's say that you get, I don't know, like 30 stat, 7 attack or something on an Eternal, and you get 4% all stat. That could also be good enough for now. But yeah, if you're until you're like good at just eyeballing immediately, like, oh, this is good, this is bad, you can use the flame calculator for now. And then once you get a better idea of like this is better, this is worse, yeah, after like a few flaming sessions, you'll be like, okay, you can see that this is clearly better, this is clearly worse. Yeah, it'll come with practice. So the other thing is your weapon. So for the weapon, we look at oh yeah, well, before we go to the weapon, so after that, it'll be the other items that have flame advantage that are slightly lower level. So it'll be stuff like your CRA. That has flame advantage. You can tell also by the numbers, right, and the amount of lines. It always comes out with 4 lines. So when I say 4 lines, it can be a little bit confusing because you technically see 5 lines on your top, for example, right? And sometimes you can only see 3. But that's because a line can be, for example, stat, just like Dex is a line. And there's also a line called Dex plus Intellect. But then the numbers are smaller. But then the Dex can go together onto one stat. So what's happened here is that you have you probably have a line of oh yeah, so you have, what you have is 20 Dex plus 20 luck. That's one line. And then you have 24 intellect and 24 luck as another line. So those are 2 lines, but they end up showing 3 numbers. But every line can only show up once, but Dex and luck is a different line than Dex separately and luck separately. So you could have Dex, luck, and then also Dex and luck, and then all of those numbers would go into one pile, and they would be 3 lines, but they would show up as 2 numbers. That's also possible. But then the numbers will be really big. Hopefully. Hopefully they will be really big numbers.
I see. Yeah. So that int, the 24 on the int could have gone into Dex instead. So it's getting, I'm getting the Dex int and int luck right now.
Dex, no, Dex luck and int luck. right? Because it's
Get locked
20,
in.
20 and
Right,
24.
right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you're saying that it can pile on all together into Dex and Luck.
Yeah, so the best possible would be to get like luck, and then Dex and luck, and then strength and luck, and then all stat. That would be the best. Those would be the 4 lines if you can get all of those, and then at the highest tier. But that, the potential that it is those 4 exact lines is very low, and then having all of them at high tiers is also very low. So what we tend to aim for is, I think in the late game we tend to aim for something that's around 50% of like your max possible outcome. And the further you go, the more like you get closer to like 55 to 60% of your possible outcome. But yeah, if you want to look at how good it could be, you can look at the tiers here in the flame guide as well. So luck technically at level 150 equips. So a powerful flame goes up to tier 6, and then eternal goes up to tier 7 in flame advantage. And then if you don't have flame advantage, it goes up to tier 4, I think, for a powerful, and up to tier 5 for an eternal. So CRA gear is in this category here. So if you take tier 6 from powerful, it goes up to 48. And if you have the double stats, it goes up to 24. So if you have 2 of those, then you go also up to 48. So you could have like 96 and 6, like theoretically your max. So we're not really aiming for that. Also, we're aiming for more than 50%, I guess. Because 96 and 6 would be 145, and we'll probably aim for like 90. Yeah, like 90 to 95. So we're aiming for about, what is that, like 2/3? Yeah, so like 66% of the total potential. Yeah. Which seems low, but yeah, I mean, people aim for 100 plus later on in the game. It's tricky. Yeah, I think my top is 56 and 6. That's considered pretty damn good. Pants are 100 flat. That's not considered amazing for my state of the game. But re-rolling over that is, it's not great. I got lucky on the hat pretty quickly.
Is a 255 like the optimal level you want to get to before you start doing end game bosses?
I think 250 is fine as long as everyone knows what they're doing. The mechanics are more important that everyone is in line. 255 is just well, if you're at 255, you'll deal 10% more damage to will. But yeah, do you know about the level difference multipliers and everything?
Not really.
Okay, so if you're lower level than monsters, you will deal less damage to them, and if you're and the penalty is quite strict in Reboot. So if you're 20 levels lower, you deal only one damage anymore. So your damage is reduced by 100%. And then that reduction goes down and down and down as you approach the level. And then when you reach the monster level, we deal just normal 100%. And then for every level above the monster, you deal 2% more final damage for up to 5 levels for a total of plus 10% final damage possibly. It's different between Reboot and non-Reboot, but that's how it works for us. That's why in non-Reboot, people will go for like very high level monsters and not really get a lot of penalty. But in Reboot, you can't really do that. If you go to a map of monsters like 15 levels above you, when you're low level, you deal no damage anymore. You may have noticed that sometimes.
Yeah. So is Will level 250?
Yeah, he's 250. Yeah.
Okay.
That's why people get to Lucid very quickly, because she's like to level 230, right? So as soon as you get into Lachaline, you're already kind of within her range. But you get into Sphera, you're at 235, and then you're 15 levels apart, which means if you go to Will at 235, I think that's like 87.5% damage reduction or something. So you're not really doing too much of your you're doing like 1/8 of your damage. So yeah, that's typically why people kind of stall going to Will and practicing it, and then by the time they get to 250, they are usually so strong that they do like 1 or 2 normal Will practices to get it, to get acquainted with the mechanics, and then they just start doing hard Will immediately because they have the damage. So normal Will kind of gets forgotten in the meta because of his level. I think it'd be better if he was like level 240 or something, so people could kind of ease into practicing it quicker. But
yeah. What levels Varus, Hilla, and like the other end game bosses?
I'm not 100. Oh, so I know Gloom is Gloom is 250, I think. Hang on, let's see if my dailies command has this. Because that has like all the bosses and the content in the game, and it should have a link as well to the boss itself. Ferris, Hilla, Fandom, click. Yeah, there we go. She's 250.
250.
Yeah, and
Okay.
I think Gloom is 255 because people told me to get to 260 to do max damage to him. Yeah, he's 255. And then I think Darknell is 260 because people told me to get to 265. Oh, he's
So
265 actually. He's 265, so 270 for full damage.
Let's see. Okay, because there's okay. I don't see myself getting to 270. Okay.
Yeah, that's I don't even see myself doing that. But at least you do your normal full damage at 265. So he's got a crisp 26 trillion HP. Wait, how much does Gloom have? Because I killed normal Gloom. Takes a little bit getting used to. Oh yeah, they have the same HP. Interesting, but they have very different mechanics from what I heard. So
255 for Gloom. Okay.
yeah, yeah. So you could go at 250 if you have like a full party of people at 250. You could probably take them down. I don't know exactly what the damage reduction is. It could be 15% or something. Let's see. Level difference multiplier. It's for non-reboot. For reboot. If you're 5 levels below, you'd lose 25% final damage. But if you're a whole party, you can probably still do it. But yeah, you only deal 75% of your damage.
Okay. And the damage stacking up when you're above the level stacks up to 5 times, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean 5 levels. 5.
Yeah, plus 5 is plus 10%. Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, but you see, you see how unforgiving it is. It's like 5% down per level up to 10 levels, and then it's almost like it's 9.5 per level. So it goes down to see the 15 levels is 87.5%, 20 levels lower at 100% damage reduction. Even 10 levels is 50% of your damage gone. Did you see in Taiwan MS a 255 Adele soloed the Black Mage?
Oh yeah. Wait, what level is Black?
Black Mage is 270 and 275.
270 and
wow. 2 phases are 270 and 2 phases are 275.
Wait,
so,
wait, you were watching the Dell guy solo yesterday, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Wow, and he killed at 250.
Yeah, so he's in a non-reboot server though, so the penalty isn't as big. So you see, for him, 15 levels below is 37% reduction, and the 20 levels below is 50 reduction. But he was still just hitting cap.
Pretty insane. Yeah, I saw him just hitting the cap.
Yeah, just ridiculous. Yeah. So if you want to see the information about the multiplier, that's under !maple stats. And then any information for the bosses and like what levels they are. The wiki pages are linked under the dailies command, but !bosses or !weeklies, that all links to the same things if you ever want to see that back. It also shows their PDR, so and that's what kind of determines how much ID you need, right, to be able to kill them. But of course, later in the game, Lotus and Damien, everything above all has 300%. So, but in case anything comes out that has more than 300% or something like that, then that could be.
Does difficulty change the level of the boss? As in, like
sometimes.
Hard Lotus,
yeah.
Lotus.
Sometimes, and I don't think for Lotus, but like for Hilla it does, for example, right? Normal and hard Hilla. Hard Hilla is a higher level.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So sometimes you unlock a boss. Like let's go to you go to CRA at level 180, but CRA themselves, I don't know their exact levels, but so sometimes it's good to check that you're not like, oh, I have entry to the boss, so I should be able to do it. Well, not necessarily, right? Because it's very possible that you just end up doing almost no damage to the boss if you go as soon as you can go in there.
Yeah.
Okay, and then the other thing is for the weapon. So the weapon is kind of different because the tiers come down to percentages of the base attack. So every single weapon has different. So if you go to weapon attack here, attack power on weapons. So you can see here, like it depends on the level of the equip, and then the tier is a percentage of the base attack of the weapon.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, because this is like a lot, and then here are some pre-done values. This is like a lot of numbers. So the easiest thing is to just throw it in here. So Fafnir, Absolab, Arcana, all that stuff is all flame advantage, so that's pretty simple. You just have to know your base attack, so that's 192. And then as long as you put that in, then you'll see all the numbers here already. So you immediately know what tier it is, whatever you rolled. So you have a tier 6 attack, and I think a little bit of luck with it.
Yeah.
Well, not even a little bit, right? 55 is pretty good.
55. Yeah. Okay.
I mean, that's about a 55 flame score, right? So that's about an extra... that's about an extra...
I guess
what is it, like
I'm
14?
pretty set on my weapon right now, for now.
Yeah, that counts as
Tier
almost
6,
14
oh,
attack, right? So that kind of counts as if you almost have 91 attack, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, you can, for the same thing, you can use this. So here's the weapon flame is here. So you'll aim for tier 6 plus or tier 7. And in the beginning, you want to be at tier 6. So you can be with this for a while. What people tend to reroll for, if they reroll, is they try to hit the tier 6 attack plus plus a line of boss damage. Boss damage is very valuable, because if you look at the numbers for... are they here? Ah, here. So yeah, so percentage attack is just, you know, whatever the tier is, that's the same number, right? It only goes up to 7, but you'll rarely see that. And for damage, it's the same. It's just the same as the number. But for boss damage, it's double. So like a tier 5 boss damage is 10% boss damage. And the further you go, like if you could trade in 55 luck for 10% boss damage, you'd probably make that trade every day of the week, right? So, and since your weapon is the only thing that you can flame for that, that is something that people tend to min-max for later. But yeah, for now, you can definitely keep on this. And there's a lot of gains that you could be making on other equips instead before you go back to min-maxing on your weapon. But you will want to eventually, because your weapon is going to stay with you very, very long since it's a 21 star. So, yep.
It always bothers me that it's not 22.
That's a mental thing. That's something you have to
Yeah.
you either have to say like I can't
don't
deal with
know
it, so I'm gonna go for 22, or you say like I'm like yeah, maybe I deal with it someday once everything else gets to the same point, but for now, you know, it's so far above everything else that risking blowing this up when everything else has so much more room for growth, that would just be bad investment to do right now, right?
Right.
Yeah, 22. Contrary to what some people say, 22 is not free. 21 is pretty free, but 22 is a nightmare.
Yeah.
That's where everyone crumbles and falls.
I also
yeah?
I was wondering about because I started recently around April, and I realized all the players who had the monster card, the familiar cards, right? But the boss lines are like getting extra like 40% boss damage on those.
Yep,
And
or up to 90 or something.
What should like the newer players should approach this?
You should basically see familiars as like you can get a little bit of healing, you can get a little bit of drop rate, or you can get some IED. That's pretty much familiars at this point.
So
yeah, 15% IED is probably the best value you're gonna get out of it. Sadly,
so
yeah.
boss damage is not really an option.
No, you gotta get at least epic, and epic is like any kind of familiar we get is not rerollable. Every single time there's an update, or whenever, you know, I haven't bothered Ghibli in a little bit, I keep telling her to hopefully shoehorn somewhere the red familiar cards in, so the familiar system isn't completely dead on the reboot.
Yeah.
And she keeps saying that a lot of people keep asking for it, so that she keeps suggesting it every single time she has an opportunity. Hopefully they bring those in at some point. And then once we have those, then it'll be realistic to go for epic familiars, like actually tier up to epic, and then start re-rolling on epic. But until then, just all of the effort it takes you to get one single epic with basically no return because you have one single roll. Yeah, I don't know. Right. It's kind of like tiering up items all the way. Like, let's say that red cubes and black cubes didn't exist, and you're just... the only thing you had was cubes that can get you 2 legendary, but then once you're legendary, you can never re-roll them again. You can imagine, like, how silly it would be to get up, right? Because then... in unique, you could be re-rolling very easily, right? You have Master Craftsman cubes, or in our case, in rare, you can just get a bunch of familiars and you can get a bunch of rolls. But then once you tier it up, like the reveal is all you get, and then after that, there's nothing left. So that's kind of how you got to see it. So at this point, yeah, it's not a great system for the new players. So hopefully they expand on that a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah. Until then,
at least you're letting them know.
Yeah. Exactly. Okay, so what's your so you don't have a separate character that you make money on, right? So
I've been thinking about, because I have this, I don't know, rebellious mind to not go for Arcana basically. And I used to have a Buck as my main. And I made him like a long time ago, so he has like the Exorcist badge and like all the superiors ready. He's just at 207 right now, and I haven't really bothered to touch him.
Okay.
But I was thinking about just making him my minor and get him to Arcana or something.
Yeah, so those are basically your two options, right? You can have your main character that you're just playing on, training on. If you are going the route of multiple characters, just leveling them for the sake of having the characters and being at characters that you enjoy playing, then I would advise on all of these characters to go for drop rate Meso obtain gear. So just while you're training, you can make more money, and then you don't have to like one of those characters could be a Kana, right? But the thing with the Kana is kind of like, well, you get to a certain point, you're gonna have to like suicide to stay at the level, otherwise your rates are gonna suffer insanely.
Right.
But if you're just one character after another, just getting them to the point where they can kill relatively well, and you're just training them because you like them, and then you can start getting income from the bosses as well, then you don't have to have one character on your account specifically there for the sole reason of making money for the rest of your account, but you can kind of pool all the money from all the characters together and kind of, well, I mean, organically sounds like the other thing is inorganic, but like in that way kind of just come across enough money to keep progressing rather than having one character have that one role, I guess.
Okay.
Yes, if that's what you want to do, then getting Meso and drop rate gear, I would say kind of the sooner the better, because you can get used to how strong you are with that gear and then upgrade from there. And of course, the sooner you get Meso obtain gear, the faster it'll pay itself back, and that the investment starts generating income, right?
Right. I barely have any drop gears right
Yeah.
now.
Well, yeah. That's yeah.
Yeah, I've been solely just focused on just getting my main stat up.
Yep. I see that. So you have Meso on the earring, I see.
Yeah, and just there's another
chaos
item on chaos.
Yeah.
That's it.
Well, you also rolled 15% luck with that, so
right.
not something not something you would re-roll that quickly.
But I don't know if I want to keep that chaos ring as my drop gear. And I was just thinking about using my synergy ring as the drop gear and my master ring as the drop gear. But
yeah, eventually that's usually what happens. Yeah. How are you doing with Gollux? Are you clearing that regularly?
Yeah. Gollux. I've been doing Hellux every day, but
okay.
I don't know what to aim for now. Besides just try to get it to 22 star. So I have a dilemma of like whether I should switch to 2 superior pendant build or just stay with what I have right now. Because I realize some people go 2 superior pendant and like Sweetwater earring or stuff like that, but I don't really know.
Yeah,
like,
people used to. So yeah. So people used to do that because the belts used to. Sorry, the pendants used to drop from Gollux, and the earrings didn't. But now the earrings drop, so it's easier to get the lower level earrings, or maybe even extra superiors, and even push for 22 on earrings. Whereas for pendants, now you have to buy the pendants, and the price is the cost is way higher, right? So getting backups, buying backups. The only other thing you could do for transfer hammering for pendants would be getting extra dominators and getting those high stars and transferring hammering, which is also pretty low chance. So it makes more sense to just go for one pendant and then the other one Sweetwater, because for Sweetwater you can quote unquote you could just get backups, right? Just do more more Sweetwater, more
Okay.
Commercy. And then for the E-Ring, you can possibly get backups, or you can get a bunch of Reinforced Star Force and then transfer Hammer over into Superior, so you don't have to risk blowing some extra up, basically. So your coins are basically going to go to rings. Well, to the pieces that you don't have yet, but you have the 4 Ps. So it's mainly going to go to rings in the short term, and in the long term, possibly for backups in case you want to go for beyond 20, either beyond 20 star and it blows up, or beyond 21 star and it will blow up then. But until then, until then, just for reinforced and solid ring. So you can go to Superior, reinforced Kana Treasure solid ring. I don't know if you have your Kana Treasure ring still.
Yeah, I still have it. I haven't touched it. Great. So I would go for the reinforced ring and the solid ring with the superior ring.
Yeah, they're just the higher level rings. So what the meme is kind of is that you have the superior is like the shoe-in because that's the 150 and it's part of the big boss set. So that one has to be up there, right? And then you basically equip whatever 3 rings are the strongest besides that. And there's like a lot of options there, but usually, so you have the option now to build, to buy multiple solids, right? Every week the shop resets. So what you could do is get, if you can get a solid ring all the way up to 20 star, then you could transfer hammer it into your Kana Treasure. And it wouldn't go at the cost of like, oh no, now you don't get to have the solid anymore because you could just buy another one the next week, right? But then also you'd never have to really risk blowing up your Kana all the way up to 19.
When does the solid ring start putting out similar performance as like, let's say the synergy ring or the master ring?
Basically when you like 16 basically.
16, okay.
Yeah, I only have it's kind of big, kind of a flex, but like I only have a 20 star on me, so I don't know how much it is exactly at the low bureau.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah, so I have a 20 star that comes down to 81 all stat and 49 weapon and magic attack.
Solid only goes up to 20, huh?
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Yeah, so you could. That's why I said like up to 19, right? But so that does mean that you could end up, theoretically, you could end up with a 19 star Kana Treasure, a 19 star reinforced, and a 20 star solid, and then to get to the high star superior, you would have to go with the Meister rings. Or theoretically, you could do solid into reinforced into superior, right? And then buy an extra reinforced. These are like options. Of course, that one is not too advisable. So ideal endgame setup is you get 22 star Meister, you transfer hammer it into the superior, either keep it at 21 or try to go for 22. If you blow it up, buy another superior and do the whole trick again, basically. Then another 22 star Meister, because easier to replace than the reinforced, who would be the equivalent, and much easier to replace than the Kana Treasure, which would be equivalent, right? Because they're all level 140. So you're mainly just looking at the level, because the level determines how much bonus stat they get per star. So you're just looking for the highest level. The other kind of meme rings that could be out there is the Glona's Heart from Phantom Forest, and the ring that drops from Chaos Gloom. But yeah, these are going to be obviously insanely rare. The Glona's Heart takes like years of dailies on average to get to anywhere near that. And the Chaos Gloom one is probably going to be beyond hyper rare. So the main thing is going to be those rings. So Meister into Superior, Meister itself, and then whichever one you get higher between Reinforced, Solid, and Kana Treasure, whichever two are the strongest out of those three, those you will be equipping. So what most people do is they just Star Force with Safeguard all the way up to 17, and then they try to go to 18 on the weakest one first, so on the Solid, and then if that one works, go to 18 on the second weakest one, and basically just keep going until one blows up. Now which basically meant that after this, if the Solid works up to 18, then the Kana Treasure is next, and then if that one blows up, you're immediately like done. So now, in order to push that further, what you can do is just keep pushing just stick with that, right? Everything 17, safeguarded, whatever. and then just push. But don't even upgrade the solid, right? So the solid is just going to be the transfer hammer fodder. So you just stick to superior, reinforced, Kana treasure, and a Meister, and then you just work on a solid whenever there's an event. You try to get a solid to 20, and if you do that, you just transfer hammer it into the Kana treasure, and then you upgrade your Kana treasure, and then that one's set. And then you try to get another solid, transfer hammer it into the reinforced. Yeah.
Oh, so solid. You can hammer solid into Kana's treasure.
Yeah, because they're 130. They're
okay.
So both into technically also into Meister, into reinforced, and into Kana, because those are all 140. So they can transfer hammer in, and because they're repeatable now, that means you can safely get a Kana treasure to 19 without ever having to risk boom. And 19 is pretty solid. It's pretty good.
Yeah,
solid. Yeah. Bad chose the word, but yeah. So if you combine that with getting your Abso to 20 or 21 and getting your CRA to 20 or 21, you can end up getting really, really strong. You'll definitely be qualified with your current weapon for something like Hard Will for sure. As long as you know the mechanics, you'll be totally fine.
Okay.
You don't have to worry about like needing arcane or anything like that.
So what do you think about my whole ignore defense situation?
Yeah, sure. So you have a lot, and there's also some invisible IED that goes on there. Are you aware of the difference between visual and functional IED?
No.
Because you talked about it before, right? Some boost nodes get, I think almost all the boost nodes get 20% extra IED once you reach level 40. But that applies only to that skill specifically.
Right.
But what your skill window shows is like this is how much ID you have. Like when you hit something, this is the ID you're going to apply. But then once you actually damage something, there's on-hit effects. And then you're, for the calculations, the game will look at, okay, do you have any hyper stats for this specific skill? Do you have any other bonuses for this specific skill? And does the boss have any specific debuffs? Because at the moment of you hitting, your stat window doesn't know if the boss has a debuff on it or if a specific skill has because the game doesn't know what skill you're going to be using. So for that, it's important to calculate your functional IED. That basically, and I don't know if it's working because it's been malfunctioning the last few days. Oh, it's back. Cool. So you have this ID calculator where you can put all your sources in that you have.
Oh, nice.
And then it'll tell you up here what your functional IED is. Because IED has diminishing returns, every line is calculated individually, and the percentage that you take is basically the percentage of how much you're missing to get to 100% that you get. So let's say that you're at 50%, you add a line of 20%, then you add 20% of the 50% you're missing, which is 10%, right? Yeah. So you go from 50 to 60. But let's say you're at 90% and you add a line of 20%, you add 20% of the 10% you're missing, which is 2%, so then you go from 90 to 92.
Okay.
So like the higher you are, the more difficult it is to get the numbers up higher.
Efficiency. Okay.
And that's why the big numbers are also very important, right? So let's say you're at 90 and you have 2 lines of 20%. So the first one takes you to 92, and then the second one is 20% of the 8% you're missing. So that's 1.6. So you add up at 93.6. But let's say you have 1 line of 40 instead when you're at 90. Well, you had 40% of the 10% you're missing, so you had 4%, so you go to 94. So the other one went to 93.6, but the other one went to 94. So more singular large chunks of ID are more valuable. So filling up your Legion, a 40% line on your emblem, which I think you have. Oh no, you have on your secondary. Like those are like really chunky. Those are really good. But your emblem already has 12, 9, and 30. So that's probably what we're gonna stick with for now. Seems like a good good way forward. Yeah. So if you calculate all that out, so I don't know where your Legion is at. There's possible room for growth, possible certain link skills that get maybe leveled a little bit.
It's at 4K, so I'm trying to get to 6K. So
I see.
I can
Yeah. So typically what people end up with is 1 line of ID on their emblem, and then just a combination of attack and boss on between the weapon and the secondary, with preference for the boss to be on the secondary and the attack to be on the weapon, because the weapon gets into the 160 tier. So 1 line there will end up being more, whereas the boss lines are the same between the two. They're always like 30, 35, or 40. but the attack is 9 versus 10 and 12 versus 13, so you're getting more bang for your buck, so to speak, for the lines on your weapon. So that means re-rolling your secondary. Maybe not now, right? Maybe not for now, but eventually once that Legion picks up that quote-unquote slack of ID, or you get familiars with ID, or if you calculate your functional, again, you can take back to the progression tab. That also has like your ID levels, your functional ID levels here. So if you get to 95 functional, which you definitely have because your visual is already 95, right? Then then that means for the total balance of your account, it's not too bad to go a little bit lower on ID and instead replace it with boss damage or with percentage attack. So you can use that for the same purposes.
So you wouldn't re-roll the ID I have on my secondary right now? Because I was thinking...
Well, if you calculate the functional ID first, and then just remove and then remove one line of 40% and see if it drops significantly below what you want to have in the progression tab.
Okay.
If it drops like at the lower end, and you don't have any immediate other sources of ID, then I would keep what you have now. But if it stays around like 93 or 94, and there's some stuff that gives you ID that you can get pretty easily, then I would say it's definitely doable to reroll it. And then ideally you would want like 2 lines of attack, 1 line of boss, or full attack, or maybe even 1 line attack, 2 lines of boss, something like that. Or say you reroll into like 30 boss, 9 attack, 30 ID or something. That could all be like intermediary like placeholders that would be more valuable than this that you can keep for now. Because you're also going to be rerolling your weapon, right? Not secondary first, but you're also going to be rerolling the weapon. So if you get something on your secondary that's better, that's probably better to then first reroll your weapon and see what you end up with there. Most people end up with like 1 line boss, 2 line attack on their weapon. That's like the most common one.
Yeah, because the all stat line is just not doing it for me right now.
I mean, it's better than nothing for sure. And having 2 lines and something that does something is definitely not bad. But the potential of that 1 line is so much greater than the potential of all your other lines and all your other equips that it just makes more sense to just get a lot of red cubes and just go to town on this one. And the great thing is, if you have a lot of red cubes and you end up getting lucky, those red cubes are going to have other uses. There's still room for growth on a lot of other equips as well. So they definitely won't be wasted, right? Especially not if you're going to go for Meso obtain and drop rate, then you'll have to use cubes there anyway.
Do you like to go for red cubes usually? Because I heard black cube gives you that prime line better.
Yeah, so red cubes has 100% chance for the top line to be prime, and then 10% for the second one, and 1% for the third one. And black cubes have 100%, and then 20% for the second, and 2% for the last one. So they have more chance. However, they cost almost double. So if you're aiming for like the best of the best, then just go full black cube. But it's very expensive. The reason why I tend to go mass red cubes, especially in your situation, is because you'll never have too many, right? They can always find a place. They can always find a home. And the other thing is you just have twice as many rolls. So on average, you're going to get it cheaper. So you can... There's also a calculator for this that someone has made under ! Cubing. So let's say that you have a weapon and it's legendary and it's level 160. And you are trying to go for, let's say, 2 lines of attack and 1 line of boss, right? And you calculate. On red cubes, it's going to be... Oh, sorry, okay, someone got it in 2 cubes and someone got it in 3,000. Out of 100 people, that guy is very unlucky.
No.
But the median amount is 500 cubes. So the median cost comes down to 6 bill. And if you do black cubes instead, the median cost is at 11.
Wow.
That's
wow.
almost
I didn't know
double.
Someone did this whole...
Yeah.
It's crazy. Wow. Okay.
Because you have so many fewer lines. But if you look at something else, right? So let's say you look at the shoulder and you're trying to go for 33 plus on red cubes. That should probably still be lower. It's like 10 bill, and then on black cubes. Yeah, see, it's not that much more because you have more outs, because the 36 is more likely and the 39 is like astronomically unlikely. But there you see like the median cost is like 9 and then goes up to like 12 to 13, which is still like significantly more, but it also significantly increases your chances of hitting a double prime. So in that case, it I would say the opportunity cost is not that much more, that it makes it so that it's not necessarily a bad move to do it, I would say.
I see.
Yeah, but on your weapon, you know, let's say you're aiming for, I want to get 3-line attack or get something good. Like, let's say you hit that boss and 2-line attack, and then you want to just improve upon that, then you just go full black cube, because then you also have the value of never having to sell for anything less than you already had. And then that becomes, yeah, that's almost invaluable. The fact that you can like, oh, I could just go back to what I had before, like I don't care. Yeah.
Yeah. Would a 3-line attack be better, or like?
So that depends on. Let's see if this calculator still works. We're going through all the commands now. This one is back as well. So this is the WSE optimizer. This stands for weapon, secondary, and emblem, right? Because they have the boss damage, the ID, and the attack. What you enter here is your base percentage attack, which for everyone is pretty low. It's like your soul, echo, and then some classes have skills with percentage attack, but it's very few. And then your base damage percentage would be your damage bonus plus your boss damage together, without your potentials, right? So you're trying to say, basically, you take your potentials out of this equation. So you take your ID without your ID, your functional ID without the lines from your WSE, your damage without the lines, and your base attack without the lines. And then it'll show you, well, you want to see like the top 50 results or something, and then it'll show you, so let's say in your situation, we could do like a rough estimate. You have 2 lines of ID, so you probably end up with like, I think you'll end up with like 90, even if you get those lines out of the way because of your functional that you have on top of it. Your damage, you have 1 line of boss damage.
Yeah, I think
on
so.
your weapon, right?
Yeah, on my weapon, 30.
Yeah, you have 30, yeah. So that goes to 216, so that still ends up at like 400. But you probably have some buffs that can get you some more damage, right? So that probably stays around 450, I would say. And then your base percentage attack is probably very low. It's only, I think it's only like the, how much do you get? 4 or something from Echo? How much does that even give you?
Yeah, 4%.
Yeah, 4%.
That's it.
Yeah. So, like, very rough estimate, what it says is that your ideal would be 702 or 612 is very close. So here you can see how much percentage final damage you gain by the different, all of the different configurations of lines. So you can also see that maybe what you have is like number 50, but you can see that number 50 is like 107% final damage increase compared to having nothing, and then the best possible one is 112. That's really close, right? So sometimes putting the top display at like 100 can still, you could be like, oh, this is the 100th best, but it's only like 3% final damage off of something. So, and then you can go back to the calculator to see like, well, how much would that cost me to fix that? Okay, an average cost of like 300 bill. Fuck that. I'm sticking to what I have, right? Because even just red cubing your weapon for 3-line attack, median cost I think is it like 80 or something?
Insane.
Oh, it's only 40 bill. Oh, easy clap, dude. Yeah.
Only 40 bill.
No problem on that. Wait, I thought it was way more. Damn. Okay. Yeah. So that's, yeah. And let's say that's an increase to having like 2-line attack, 2-line attack and 1-line boss. That's only an increase of like 1% of your final damage. Then you can make the weighted decision to be like, well, I'd rather spend that money on getting everything else that has 2 lines of luck to 3 lines or to 2.5 lines. You know, like add a line of percentage all stat or something.
Right.
So then you can go more methodical about it. But it seems in general, it seems like you have a lot of options that are really close, right? So like 702, 612. Oh yeah, so that's ABI is attack, boss, IED.
Could I get another? Oh, okay. So it's attack and boss damage in ignore defense.
Yeah, in that order. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, even so, 702, 612. There's a 522 here. 522, 603 even. Like these are all very close together. So there's a lot of outs. 513. These are all very close together. So what you already have on your emblem is already yeah, so this is taking 40% lines. Oh, this is what you have, right? 12, 9, and 3. But yeah, they do like the best ones have this on your weapon, right? Have 3 lines of attack, which is pretty fucking rare. But yeah, let's just say that you get that on your weapon, then you know exactly what you want on your secondary.
Right. Okay.
More likely for your weapon, yeah.
I guess mostly 2 ignore defenses on par.
That's
should be good.
in your current situation, yeah. So I would do this. So I would just roll on your weapon, try to aim for 2 lines of weapon, 2 lines of attack, 1 line of boss. If you do end up with that, then you just hold. If you end up with like 1 line of attack, 2 line of boss or something, you can keep that as well. And then yeah, do the calculation right for the functional IED and see if it's okay to roll out with your secondary or not. If it's not okay, you can just hold it. That's fine. And then to really put it on point and be like, I'm going to min-max this, that's something I would do once you reach the 6k Legion. Your ID is higher than from your Legion and everything, and then your functional ID will be high enough so that you can really know, like, okay, these stats, because your Legion grid is not growing anymore, your coverage in your grid for the important stats is not growing anymore, and at that point, you can look at your situation and be like, okay, this is going to... Now you have some solids, right? They're not variable anymore, so those are set in stone. Those are static. So then you can start moving on to things that are still static, which is your potential, and then you can start min-maxing it.
Okay, I see.
Yeah, it's because this calculator just looks at your current situation, but something like the flame. That's why I like the flame score, because the flame score looks at your future situation, like what are you aiming for, so you can like future-proof it, so you don't have to constantly redo it. If you always look at your WC optimizer, it's possible that like every single time you make any kind of significant upgrade, another line is slightly better. That's why it's also important to look at like the top 50, you know. So if something is close enough that you don't feel like, oh no, it's horrible because it's not the top line, you know, or yeah.
Yeah, I see.
But yeah, ideal setup is going to be full attack on the weapon, right? Because you can use that 13, 10, 10, and then 1 line on your at least 1 line on your emblem, and then the 40% is the one you want there. And then your secondary just fills, you know, either a line of boss, a line of IED if your class is very low on it, or maybe 2 lines of boss and then attack on the rest. It's typically how it's distributed. But yeah, that's like the minutia. Yeah, go for it.
This is a theoretical question.
Sure.
So I just I'm thinking about replacing all the beam mark, the power crystal, and the dominator pendant with some of the Sweetwater, because I got my Sweetwater pendant transposed with the dominator that I got, and I thought the flames were decent, so I just transposed it for now.
Yep.
And if I were to start doing like hard Lotus and hard Damien, and I happen to get like an eye patch, is it worth it to? Because there's nothing to transpose for the Sweetwater tattoo.
No.
Is it worth it to transpose into the tattoo?
So basically the well, there's nothing to transpose into tattoo. You mean into the monocle, or?
Oh, does the
just to get them and to upgrade them is no, so transposing is only into Sweetwater, right? So you can't do anything with the eye patch there. It's the same level. Eye patch is also 160, and the Berserk is also 160.
Oh, the same level doesn't apply.
Yeah. It has to be a lower level rank, and it has to be yeah.
Wait, so eye patch itself doesn't really transpose with anything?
No, transposing is no, because it's into transposing is into Sweetwater, and that's always level 160 stuff.
Right, and there's no 145.
Oh, you mean like a face? No, there's nothing that can go into a tattoo. No.
Oh wow. Okay.
No. I mean, it saves you the trouble, but yeah, no, no room for upgrade there. But it saves you the trouble of having to look for something. Yeah.
But popular to smart does transpose into monocle, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, okay.
So the thing with those items is you don't really want to count in any way that you're going to be doing Hard Lotus soon, because Hard Lotus is a very, very annoying boss. Many people who run Hard Lucid and Will for months, maybe even a year, don't even do Hard Lotus because it's so much of an annoyance.
Really?
Yeah, all of the things basically
Wow.
kill you. There's way more desync, like the platforms aren't there half the time. A lot of things like one-shot you, and the debris that falls from the sky is about 4 times as much as in normal. And everything stuns you, and yeah, it's cancer.
I see.
It's just not good. However, the other thing is that after the winter, the drop rate for all of those equips that you basically just mentioned, so for the Papalatus mark and all the items in the pitch boss set, all of those drop rates are going to go up, and it seems from KMS that they're actually going up by quite a significant amount. But there's no waste whatsoever in going for at least 17-star tattoo and monocle and getting them up to legendary and like at least 2 useful lines. There's no waste in that whatsoever, because you will be using and needing that damage for any boss beyond normal Damien and normal
so if
normal
I
Lotus.
were to do that, I would need another monocle if I were to get a popular too smart.
Yeah, you could do it on another one.
Monocle.
You could do it on the one that you already have, but that would set you back for that while. It's probably easier to just buy another one and do it on that, yeah, until you have it fully upgraded, yeah. So in general, for transposing, people tend to look for flame scores between 105 and 115. I noticed that yours was probably lower because you're at 56.6, so you're like 24, 5, and 5, right?
Mine's probably like 90 or something.
So 40 and a half, 20, 60 and a half, 24, so 84 and a half.
84 and a half. Okay.
Yeah. It's not like insanely horrible or anything, but it is lower than what most people aim for. But it kind of depends. You already have the set completed, so I mean, it's better than if you had a dom there. So, but that does put into question, like, how much are you going to min-max this? And also, like, do you want to keep... because once you... do you want to keep Star Forcing it beyond this? And or do you want to keep...
well, for
cubing
now,
it, right?
I'm pretty sure I'm not going to get another Dominator pendant for quite a while, so... For now, I'm probably going to use what I have.
Yeah.
Because I already transposed it, you know?
Yeah, so what I would probably do is just throw Master Crossman at it, just to try to get like 2 lines of luck in unique. And I wouldn't go beyond that, and spend all your other efforts on flaming, potentially cubing the Abzu stuff, and on perfecting the potential on your weapon and your secondary is what I would do.
Okay.
And not spend too much on this one, because you are going to have... your standards are going to increase quite a bit for your equip soon, because you're going to kind of get stuck at 17 star and at 2 or 2.5 line of your potential on all your equips. And then this one is going to feel like it's missing out on a lot of potential, so I wouldn't overinvest. Just get some luck on the potential and just leave it there for now.
Okay. So this is all going to be on YouTube, right? Because I'm not going to remember all this.
No. I know that I can hear that you're playing in the background, so I was like, yeah, I'm putting it on YouTube so you can you can watch it back.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah, so I'll just go over the equips and kind of incorporate everything that we talked about, and then just kind of like wrap it up with that. Is that okay?
Yeah.
So I'll start on the top left. So with the rings, so you can so Chaos Ring keep for now, but then will become drop rate, right? So we talked about the reinforced, solid, kind of treasure, and then possibly Meister with crafting. So I don't know if you have primal essences and that kind of stuff. If you have a few of those.
Yeah, I have one primal essence ready. It's just I don't really know how the crafting works, so I'm gonna have to do some research on that.
Yeah, if you have one, I'll probably hold off a little bit, because once you get your crafting to the level... So up to level 10, it's whatever, but then you have to get to level 12, or, well, level 12. Like 10 goes into Craftsman and then goes into Meister. So it's like level 11 and level 12, kind of. But once you go past 10, it decays if you don't make something that gives you any kind of mastery. So if you go too soon, you're going to have to constantly keep crafting stuff to make sure that you keep your rank. Which can end up costing a bunch of resources. So it might be better to just wait until you have more resources to make multiple rings. So maybe until you have like 4 or something at least, I would say. And then you can go for and then you go from making it to Meister.
Okay.
Although now is also kind of a good idea because there is a no boom room, but you can only make one. Yeah,
that's true. But
no,
would I be able to pull off a level 12 mastery until like?
Oh
don't I
wait,
have, like,
tomorrow is
I
the
have like
last
2
day.
days, right?
But tomorrow's the last day. It's gonna close
Oh,
tomorrow.
is
Nah,
it
so you
tomorrow?
don't.
Okay.
No, you don't have enough time because
Yeah.
you're gonna be cucked by fatigue, cooldown and stuff. And the higher level items that give you a lot of points are also on a cooldown timer. So you're not gonna have enough time. No. Next round. I mean, it's just gonna be safeguarding instead. You know, it's not too bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, so once you have more materials, Meister, so make sure you keep harvesting all the big flowers, the big veins, and do normal arc every day for your income on primals. But you're probably doing normal arc because you want to get more dominators anyway, right? Yeah, so that's the ring situation. We went over all of that, right? I'm not gonna repeat all of the ring stuff that we went over because that's quite a lot. The pink holy cup is kind of at the same tier as the CRA stuff. So when it comes to comparing flame scores and everything, you can just compare it to that one to kind of have it at the same level. It could be a little bit lower, but like around that. And remember, you can look at the progression tab to see the numbers there. Then we are at the pendants. So yeah, the pendants is probably just going to stay where it is, where we talked about what you can do with the Sweetwater pendant. And then once you redo the other equips, it's possible that your Dominator actually stays pretty good, because between your Pink Holy Cup, your Dominator, and your Crystal Ventus badge, you will keep the 3 set bonus there.
Right.
So it'll depend on what is the potential right now on your Dominator?
It's the fake Dominator.
Oh, it's the fake one. I see.
Yeah.
Oh, because you had just one main and you got all the 2 of the boxes in the summer?
Yeah.
Or you already had
your... I have a fake Absolab ready just in case I boom my...
I see. Is it? Well, as far as backups go, it's a pretty good backup. It's better than like a Trace 12-star or something.
Yeah.
Okay, but pendant... Wait, where's the other pendant? Oh, here. Oh yeah, it's got the Meso and 2 lines of luck. Yeah. Oh no, that's the earring. Hang on. Oh, it's got. Oh yeah. No, that's pretty good. That superior pendant's gonna stay there for a while. So yeah, backups for pendants. That's gonna be a nightmare. So that's gonna all come from your coins. Yeah, which leads more value to getting more Meisters transferring into the superior rings, so that you don't have to buy like a bunch of extra superior rings, because those are going to be expensive as well, and you want to, yeah. So the one option for pendants is extra Dominators transfer hammer into the superior pendant if you get a high Star Force Dominator. So weapon we talked about, so redoing the potential flame is okay for now. Might be min-maxy with boss damage and tier 6 attack later on, once you're actually at like 250 and you want to start doing hard will and stuff. But until then, that's like a far off plan. Mainly just potential for now. Belt is like same situation, right? You can either use reinforced belts, which can drop, or you can use the pink bean belt to get it to high star and then transfer hammer over. So any kind of item that you have the opportunity to just go lower level item, high star during an event and then transfer over, all of those items I wouldn't touch the potential more than what they already are, because you have to redo the potential afterwards, right?
Right.
If something already has really, really good potential that you want to keep, but I don't think you have any item that has like full-blown 3 lines, right? Everything is...
Yeah, besides the emblem. Not really.
Yeah, okay. That's a good thing, though. Because, yeah, let's say you roll 3-line luck on your cape. Well, that basically means you're kind of locked in and you have to Star Force on your cape, and if you blow it up, you gotta keep doing the weeklies to get new ones. Where now this is fine for now, and now you can divert all your resources for your cape, for example. Like, the cape needs no work. Like, you could technically get it 16 to 17 during a 5, 10, 15, but that's about it. All the other money can just go towards Enraged Zakum capes whenever there's a 5, 10, 15 event. Try to get 1 to 21 stars, or 22 if you're feeling freaky, and then transfer hammer over, and then just redo the potential, and then you're just done forever, and you don't need to touch capes anymore. But that also means you don't have to worry about Sweetwater and Dark World Tree weeklies.
Right.
So it's kind of a dip now, but eventually it means that the path towards where you want to go is much more clear and much more straightforward.
I see.
Okay. the hat, I didn't look at the flame, but you know about the flames and the flame scores and how to evaluate that, so you can kind of build an internal priority of this item needs to be done first, this one needs to be done later, etc. Right?
Yep. The calculators.
Yep, the calculator and whether it's flame advantage or not. The eye in the face, yeah. So the eye in the face, I would just you could just get the sweet water, get it to 17, get it legendary 2 lines. Like that's all fine for now. Don't count on getting those super rare drops. And then once you do them, then you just cross that bridge once you come to it, basically.
Okay.
So you're top and bottom, well, same as the hat. So the shoe is probably one of the ones where the flame can use the most work, where you can make the most gains. But again, you'll figure that out once you make that list. The earrings, I think, are okay for now, right? Well, not okay. They're great for now. Among all your items that can actually be flamed, who don't have flame advantage, it probably has the most room for growth. But that, again, it's super low priority. That's once everything is 17 and kind of locked in, and once your weapon and your secondary and everything is done, so no priority. A little bit of stat there to be gained, but that's about it.
Would you leave the Meso line there?
I would leave that for now, for sure. Yeah, I would try to get some Meso and some drop rate on stuff. So that includes, if you get those other rings settled, I would recube the current rings for Meso obtain and drop, and wear those while you're training, so that you could just make more money and get more nodes and just get more everything while you're training.
Okay.
The other thing is, for the earrings, is that you can get backups, and you could also, the easiest thing is going to be getting just a bunch of backup reinforced, and then whenever there's an event, again, you're feeling frisky, you're feeling lucky, just mask Star Force on reinforced, try to get it to 20 or 21 or 22. Well, 21 or 22, I would never do 20, right? Don't transfer hammer into 19. So with all of these things, there's 2 big options, right? You go for 22 on the base item, transfer into 21, stick with 21, or go for 21, transfer to 20, and then if you're trying for 22, or 21, transfer, and then try for 21 and stick with 21. So the first option, 22 up to 21 to stay to 21, is the safest, quote unquote, for your final item, but is more expensive. You're kind of paying in security that you never have to touch it again after you transfer hammer it, but you're paying with that because you're trying to get from 21 to 22 on your source item. But that's a conscious decision that you're making. The way you got to see it is like, what is easier, getting from 20 to 21 twice or getting from 20 to 22 once? Right? It's always easier to get to 21 2 times than to get to 22 once. On average, that's way easier. But if you do that on an item that's kind of a throwaway item, then you can get to the finish line more securely, but you're paying the price. So that's kind of up to you which one you want to do. I like to end up with 21. What I end up doing usually is going 21 transfer hammer into 20, and then I stay with that for a while until I feel like I have enough money to like have the buffer in case something goes wrong, and then I got try for 20 to 21. Yeah, that's kind of the risk I take there. So far, that's been pretty good to me. But yeah, like I've only blown up 20 to 21 on items before I transferred, never after. So, but that's bound to happen at some point. Like statistically, I'm due for at least 1 or 2 of those. Yeah, so it depends on if you want to end up with 20 or 21 or eventually go for 22. That kind of depends. Yeah, so that's the earring situation. Yeah, shoulder, yeah, it's just, shoulder's probably just fine. I'm going to stay for now, possibly up to 17 during a transfer hammer, during a 5, 10, 15. And then for shoulders, if you ever want to go like very far, always do Madman Rambaroo and keep all your shoulders. Remember that all of the shoulders count for transfer hammering. You can do a thief shoulder, you can do a mage shoulder, you can do an archer shoulder, doesn't matter. If you get it up to high star force, you can transfer it, hammer it over, and same thing.
Oh, it's the Ramaru, right?
Yeah, Madman Rambaroo. Yeah, that's also has the highest level of flame drop rate in the entire game of all the bosses. So that's a very valuable daily in general to do. And can also drop wealth and experience potions straight up as well. So it's just a good boss to do.
Got it.
Glove, we talked about that. I didn't look at your potential. Yeah, so for glove, I would advise to recube and go for critical damage. That just 1 line of critical damage will be more than what you have now by quite a bit. If you can roll critical damage and 1 line of luck for now, that would be nice, or a line of all stat. And then eventually you want to go for 2 lines of critical damage, but that's further down the line, and that you will do with black cubes. Remember, because the higher chance of hitting 2 prime lines.
Right.
Yeah.
Got it.
Oh yeah, for the heart, there's probably a heart coming out this winter in the shop, so don't touch this one and just wait until we can buy the fairy heart in winter, most likely. From the KMS. So the cape is like one of the items that needs the least work, together with your emblem. And then the only item that's left is a secondary, but we talked about that one, right? After you get something nice on your weapon, you basically fill in the pieces that you still need to see what is necessary on the secondary. So possibly a line of boss, and hopefully some attack with it, most likely. If you have enough IED after you do the check.
Got it.
Yeah. So we also talked a little bit already about the steps beyond that, right? So if you start stacking up on items, in case, for the big transfer hammers to move on, then basically you're going to just start sitting on your money once all of these initial upgrades are done, and just wait for 5, 10, 15 events and just go crazy on star forcing on everything. And then once you get the 21s or the 22s, whichever you decide to go, then either you transfer hammer immediately, or you wait until you have more money so you can also recube and then transfer hammer and then recube right after. And that's when the real big damage difference is going to start coming in. Like 15 to 17, you've probably already noticed, like some items going from 15 to 16, it's a lot of weapon attack gain. But just to give you the difference, like your shoe is 16 stars, and that's giving you it's like 10 attack from the Star Force, and my shoe is 21 star. That's going to give me 75 from the Star Force.
Oof.
So
okay.
You can basically add that on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15-ish items times 16 attack. So, you're just sitting on a clean 1,000 attack, basically.
I'm so worried about, like, star enhancing anything right now, because I haven't boomed anything in this account. So
oh, yeah. You're gonna boom something then.
Yeah, I bet. So I'm just, like, oh, should I really enhance this superior item when I think I'm gonna boom something, because I haven't boomed anything?
Yeah, so
it's always in the back of my head.
Yeah, but that's good. It's good it's in your head. So you either have to be okay with it and be like, okay, it's fine if something booms, because statistically something was bound to anyway, and it's gonna happen. Or you can just, min-max for yourself as much as possible that the odds are either 0 or super low. If you're not okay with anything booming, then don't risk booming it. Because it's that simple. If you're not okay with it on a fundamental level and you risk it and it happens, you're going to hate yourself. And just don't do that to yourself.
Right.
If you're okay on a certain level, be like, hey, it's the price of the game. If it booms, I wouldn't like it, but it's possible, and I can accept that. Then you can take the chance. But that's why I also said do the solid ring thing right on the side, and if you get to 20, transfer hammer over. Because it sucks to blow up your Kana treasure from like 17 to 18 on the first try when you know that you could have done the solid ring and transfer hammer. You could have had a 19, Yeah. So yeah, just decide what you think is most important, basically, and then go with that. Yeah. So there is room for how you want to do things and what you want to aim for, but hopefully you can see a little bit more clearly now where those options are and what are decisions that you still can make on your own, and what are kind of decisions that the game kind of makes for you. And like, oh, you can upgrade to this equip, well, it doesn't drop, so fat chance that just do whatever the next best thing is, because that's just not going to happen.
Right. Okay.
All right. Does that satisfy? Yes.
Yeah. I didn't know about like the whole, because I thought countering was just stupid in a way, how you can't really recover it. But yeah, the solid ring and the reinforced ring,
Yep.
I get a sense of direction now.
It never did, right? Because for some things, like having backups there and the switch in the drop for superior, hopefully that makes it a little bit clearer why some people have certain things and why you want to aim for certain other things, or
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Is there anything at this point where you're thinking you could use a little bit more help on?
Nah, I'm probably gonna have to look over the YouTube again though, just to remind myself.
No, that's fine. And I try to mention all of the commands in the video as well. So just throw those up in the chat too, so you can follow along to what I'm doing, and where you can find everything. And like things with the flame calculator for like the first 5, 6, 7 items, you'll just put them in and look at the numbers, and then after a while you'll be like, oh, this is a little bit more than 8. This is like 4. This is 1, and then you'll be able to calculate it pretty much as you see it.
Got it.
Okay. Well, best of luck then.
Thank you so much for today.
Yeah, you're welcome. And hello again to you when you're watching this video. So say hi to say hi to yourself.
Our guild says they love it. Eclair.
Eclair. Dude, I love Eclair too.
Thank you.
They're great. We were hanging out in Hennessy's
oh yeah,
like
I
a week
said
ago.
hi to you.
Yeah. There's a bunch of Eclairs there. Everyone wanted to marry me. It was a little much. We were like giving away their wives, giving away their husbands.
Alright, thank you so much. I gotta go.
Yeah, no problem, dude. Just rewatch it in your own time and have a good one.
Alright, you too.
All right, see ya. All right, so that was a gear progression specifically for someone who is approaching the end of the late game, and who's probably aiming to staying there. So the advice is also specifically for that. People who are aiming further will have more advice coming, or will be helped more with the advice I gave towards building up backups to Star Force into 20, 21, 22, right? Because that's when you really want to start pushing for those much harder bosses. But having most of your stuff like 18 or 19 stars, and with the weapon that he already has, a 21-star weapon, just fixing all of your potentials to be decent can definitely get you into hard lucid and hard will parties. And but like we said, hard lucid lower level is okay, but for hard will you do want to at least get to like 245 or 250, so to diminish that level penalty. For more advice and specifics on how to go about like the transfer hammering and what items you want to build up and everything, we kind of went over most of it. But check out !transfer hammer as well, or just my transfer hammer and transposing video here on YouTube. And yeah, if you also would like to get one of these sessions, this is specifically just for equips. We went into a little bit more details than is kind of included in my price, but whatever. Yeah. Usually it should be about 45 minutes, but I think I just did like a full session for him. But whatever, I'm feeling up for it. I'm feeling good. But yeah, so check out the description of the video, or check out !progression that links you this beautiful command, which is very, very useful for everyone. Also links you to the document on what to do if you want to get a progression session like this one. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.